Coming to you live from Johannesburg over the next hour, an in-depth look at the big local, international and African stories that are shaping our world this evening. This is Tonight with Jane Dutton. Shameful xenophobic violence in South Africa, people killed and hundreds displaced in KZN, and threats of a lot more to come after the elections. This chilling SMS widely circulated. Neighbouring diplomats say our leaders are to blame, their political rhetoric fanning the flames of xenophobia.
If members of some political parties are making statements that are not acceptable to their own leadership, then the leadership of those parties should take the responsibility to correct those people making those statements.
Allegations of corruption clearly don't stop you from snatching power in the ANC. Every day, another horrific claim of malfeasance by those on the ruling party's election list. The people you might be voting for, giving them the go-ahead to continue destroying our country. Can those on the list that haven't committed a crime please put their hands up? We've got Mavuso Simang in the studio to talk us through the barbarity of this list. Trouble for the strongman of Turkey. Recep Tayyip Erdogan faces his biggest setback in 16 years of power. The ruling AK party has lost control of the capital in local elections, and the opposition is leading in Istanbul. This is unprecedented. What went wrong, and what will happen to those who've defied him? Breaking the ties with Eskom and getting off the grid and our power back. The renewed push for renewable energy in South Africa. Will the investment save us from the horrors of load shedding? Good news and bad news for SARS. The Public Servants Association has agreed to end their strike. The union's settling for an 8% increase. Now, Highway members have not yet accepted the deal, and the Revenue Service has missed its collection target for the past financial year, falling short by 14 billion rand.
The net revenue outcome represents a growth of around 71.2 billion, which is 5.8% compared to the 2017-18 financial year. Against the 2018 budget estimate of 1,345 billion, this results in a deficit of 57.4 billion, which is 4.3% drop, and against the revised estimate, it's another 14.6 billion drop, which is 1.1%.
Ace Magashule is keeping his cards close to his chest. The ANC Secretary General is facing the fallout from a controversial new book. That book suggests he's a key player in the so-called state capture project. All of this as the party discusses its candidate list for the national elections. Magashule says he could take the legal route as he tries to clear his name.
Let me not enter that space because you see, I'm only worried because I'm considering the legal route. But all the time you write allegations. You don't write facts. That is number one. Number two, I don't want to comment on what do you call them?
The stalwarts of the ANC.
The stalwarts and all that. I can't respond because the list is the list of the National Executive Committee collective. It is not Ace Magashule or SG's list.
What about the view that they need to sign that it's a battle for the soul of the ANC?
No, I can't comment because I'm saying the list is an outcome of the collective decisions of the National Executive Committee.
Eskom has signed an 11 billion rand loan agreement with the New Development Bank. The embattled power utility and the BRICS Bank signed the loan agreement for renewable energy integration and transmission augmentation project today. Annika Larson is following that story for us.
The massive state-guaranteed loan to Eskom has been spoken about for some time. Now it's official. 11.2 billion rand in 3 tranches to Eskom to build its aging infrastructure and strengthen the grid. Eskom says it'll use the money to modernise infrastructure, build battery capacity and put up new transmission lines. One project will dedicate itself solely to renewables and should put 670 megawatts back into the grid. The terms and conditions of the deal are not yet known, but the new development bank positions itself as an institution that's not as risk-averse as, say, the World Bank or the IMF. But the question here is, how risky is Eskom now with load shedding? Annika Larsen, Cape Town.
The Public Investment Corporation cannot be blamed for the collapse of the VBS Mutual Bank. The PRC Portfolio Management and Valuations Manager, Kaya Zonke, says the state asset manager relied on audits conducted by KPMP and PwC.
We actually placed a lot of reliance on these external or these assurance providers. And, if we get audited statements from a reputable audit firm, there was no reason for us to second guess that. And I wouldn't say, PIC was entirely at fault here.
A shocker for consumers. Fuel prices are set to go up at midnight tomorrow for the third time this year. The price of petrol will rise by between R1.31 and R1.34 per litre. Diesel will rise by between 82 and 83 cents a litre. Illuminating paraffin will climb by 63 cents per litre. The Department of Energy says it has difficulties trying to stabilise the price of fuel.
It's a bit difficult for the department to stabilize the price because we are a price taker and we are a very small market compared to the other big markets like USA and so on. But if you look at the shale gas in the Karoo, which is a long-term kind of relief for South Africa, once we start producing from there, then we won't be affected by the rand-dollar exchange rate. But what is happening at the moment, remember the department is looking at keeping the price, for example, of 93 octane. We have concluded that discussion. Now we are discussing it internally because we have received input from stakeholders. And we have also started reviewing the pricing formula itself. We have started with the import price, with the basic fuel price, and we are going to look at the local sectors. And once we are done with those studies, that's when we'll be able to say what needs to be done to actually cushion motorists against fuel price hike. Generally, in May, the price tends to drop. So we expect that it might drop in May, but it's too early to say because the local sectors, as you probably know, changes on a daily basis.
What happened over the weekend, we believe, with the information available to us, was pure criminality. However, today we went beyond the matter of criminality and we dealt with a matter that some ambassadors feel is still xenophobic.
Criminality, attacking foreigners, again chasing them away, and the minister calls it criminality. Maybe that's why we are not tackling this successfully. Why can't we just call it for what it is, outright xenophobia against our fellow Africans and stoked by our political leaders? Tonight we speak to the Deputy Mayor of eThekwini, Fawzia Peer, and Dominic Chipwaira, Executive Director of the Malawian Advocacy Group. Very good to have both of you with me. Let's start off with you, Dominic Chipwaira. I mean, you must be pretty devastated by what happened and pretty angry when you hear comments like that.
Yes, Jane. It's nice to have us today, and we have been looking forward to this day. And it's very devastating. While black people are attacking foreign migrants in the country, it's very devastating and it's heartbreaking. And we don't know why. Really, we don't know why.
Is it criminality?
Yes. On the other hand, government might say criminality, but on the other hand, migrant communities don't take it that way. They look at it on the other angle. So we cannot say criminality, but on the government perspective point of view, they are saying it's criminality. It's okay.
Okay, Fawzia Peer, why do you think it's been described as that? I mean, obviously, we've got a different viewpoint here, but isn't that undermining and demeaning people?
Yes, it is.
Wait, if we could get Fawzia Peer to answer that.
Hi, Jane. As far as we are concerned, the displaced are back in their areas and they're quite comfortable, and nothing has flared up until now, and the police is investigating the reason why the Malawi nationals were displaced from the area.
I mean, do you think it's fair? I know you say that you've got an investigation underway, but do you think it's fair to label this as criminality? Is it not, therefore, not, really addressing the problem that's happening here?
Well, we believe that the displacement emanated as a result of criminal activity. And the criminal activity that took place was by a few, which resulted in the suffering of the large amount of Malawian nationals.
Why do you think it reaches such a point, such a reaction?
Well, it reached such a point simply because goods were stolen from a South African local. And the South African local had asked the Malawian national to return the goods and to be compensated for the loss of productivity. And that did not take place according to the promise. So this, therefore, this incident caused a kind of a flare amongst many people out there. And I suppose that's the reason why the Malawi nationals were then displaced.
I suppose, Dominic, really the question here is why it flares up to such an extent. What exacerbates it? I mean, there's that problem that needs to be tackled, doesn't it?
Yes. Jane, from our point of view, right away from the beginning, from the onset, what sparked this is the connotation or the issue of drivers, that companies employ foreign drivers, in particular from Zimbabwe and other Saudi countries. Now it sparks this right away from the onset. Then it went over. When you look at many Malawians being displaced there, the reason is many Malawians, wherever they are, most of them, they like to live in the community where they follow the dominance of their religion. If you look at those Malawians, 3/4 of those Malawians are of the Muslim community. And if you look at Durban, is the center of the Muslim community. So that is why a certain area where there's a dominance of Malawians became a target. That is the main reason. And the other thing they're saying is...
the fact that they're Muslims, that is a factor?
No. Not because they are Muslims, no. But I'm talking why there were so many Malawians in a certain area in large number. Yes, but the main reason is we have already heard about this for several years and several times, that migrants are taking our jobs. Do you understand? That is the main concept behind all this. Why Malawians are working, whereas we are not working. Do you understand? Why a certain community employs Malawians, why not us? Do you understand? That is an issue here.
Okay, let me bring in the Deputy Mayor. I mean, why do you think they are being employed over South Africans? Is there a skill set that is missing? And what should the conversation be around that so that everyone understands that they've got different skills that they could possibly learn from each other?
Well, I think, we need to look back at the difficulties of our socio-economic conditions, where the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality comes in, where one has to level the playing fields, whereby we can get this economic stability in the country. Many of the immigrants, they are in jobs, informal traders, and they work without permits, without business permits. And this brings about, some kind of competition and frustration and anger amongst the South African locals, that if they have to open an informal shop or trade somewhere, they have to follow rules and regulations. And as far as the bureaucracy goes, the business licenses has to be sought. And as far as immigrants are concerned, or foreign nationals, they don't have to follow that.
Okay, let's refresh our memory when it comes to Lindiwe Sisulu and the assurance that she gave today that the government would work with representatives of affected communities to ensure their safety.
We are now involving the representatives of other countries because they are responsible for their citizens in our country. We need their help to deal with this matter. We've been dealing with this matter with NGOs and the churches, and it is not getting better in places. In some places it does get better. But when we are joined by representatives of those countries, then we will be able to get to the bottom of this.
Ms. Beer, in this meeting, there was quite a lot of frustration from some of the ambassadors on the continent saying that politicians are playing a role here, that their language is inflammatory. What's your response to that? To you, Ms. Beer. Ms. Beer, I was asking about the fact that some of the ambassadors said that our politicians, their language is inflammatory and it's not helping the problem of xenophobia in this country. All right, I think we've lost comms there. Dominic, what do you make of that? I mean, is that a fair point?
Yes, Jane, to be honest with you, this has to be one of the solutions. Politicians or political leaders, all of them, must try to avoid utterances with elements of styling violence in the community. That is the bottom line. Because when they go to meeting, this is campaign time, where you find anyone can say anything. At the end of the day, it has a negative impact into the other migrant, especially in the migrant community. So we must be very careful as politicians. So 2015, I think it happened. 2008, I think it happened. Just recently, it happened when we were having the utterances of Comrade Mayor Mashaba, and now this. You find even Comrade Makula also tried to say whatever our health sector is being, you understand, such kind of things. So once politicians utter any words, there are some people outside there. People, we are not...
Let's bring in Fawzi up here now. I mean, what role should politicians be playing here? How can they clean up their act?
I think, I must say that they won't talk about politicians as such, but there are parties that indulge in such activities where they are causing this kind of violence within foreign nationals by instigating some of the locals to remove the foreign nationals. And this is coming right up now during the time of elections. Ordinarily, they are living very comfortably with our local South Africans without any problems.
All right, let's talk about that SMS that's been circulating, threatening foreigners living in the country. I mean, how seriously are you taking that? What do you know about that?
We cannot comment much on that because, this time is a time of what we call the social media is at its high peak, where anyone can write anything and post. But we are taking it very seriously. That's why, as MAGSA, we warn our people wherever they are. Like, this is an NGO, it's a membership-based. We have structures all over the country, from Northern Cape, Uppington to Limpopo in Beggarsford. We have structures everywhere. Therefore, we are able to alert our people to say, this is what is circulating on the social media. Please, can you try to be alert? Whatever is happening there, let us know at the office. So we are taking it very seriously because they say there's no fire without smoke. So that is it.
I mean, many of them are so petrified they're returning home.
Yeah, you know, Malawians, they have never experienced this in Malawi. Malawi is a peaceful country ever since. People, they believe in dialogue, in whatever circumstances. They believe in sitting down and dialogue. So when they come here and they experience this type of, they become so threatened and traumatized. And
let's leave it with that message, as you say. It's very good for everyone to have dialogue, to talk. Dominic Chipwahira, thank you very much, and Fauzia Peer. Still ahead, the ANC's election list expected to dominate an NEC debate. Expect no change to those at the top, many of them implicated in crime and state capture. What is going on? Then big trouble in Turkey. What does the loss of Ankara in local elections mean for the president and his party?